Would you like the changes in your life that you want to make be lasting changes? Like not temporary changes, not, oh, I hope I'm going to take a swing at this and maybe it'll stick. No, no, no. Would you like to pursue the changes in your life that you know for a fact are going to be the new you? So much so that it's actually going to be easier for you to do the thing you want to do rather than not do. Like, can you imagine a universe in which it is easier for you to eat healthy than not to eat healthy? That it is easier for you to complete your work than not complete your work? Like, that is seriously possible, and that's exactly what I'm going to talk about to you in this video. And it is not just behavior change. In fact, simply thinking about behavior change alone is the fast track to having temporary change. But thinking about identity change is where lasting change comes from. So I used to work with a group of people, and there was a woman who was always just like taking care of other people. One day she's getting someone's teeth cleaned out. The next she's filling up someone's drink. She has literally sewed on buttons at the office from somebody's shirt of the button falling off. I mean, just going above and beyond to take care of people. And I told her one time, I said, Jen, I feel like you are always just so nurturing and take care of everyone. And she looked at me and she said, really? I guess it's just because I'm a mom. That's just what I do. She said, I'm a mom. And so therefore, all I know how to do is to take care of people. I used to go to the gym at 5 a.m. before I had my home gym. And I don't know if you've been to the gym that early, but I'll tell you what, those people are robotic. They're the same people going at the same time every single day. And for years I did this, and for years I saw the same people. And one time I was getting up on the Stairmaster, and this older gentleman that I had seen every day for 3 years straight got up beside me, and I looked at him and I jokingly said, fancy seeing you here. And he looked at me and he smiled and kind of shook his head and he said, you know, today was supposed to be my rest day, but I'm a 5 a.m.er. I can't help but be here. He said, I'm a 5 a.m.er. I can't help but be here. That's my identity, and therefore here I am. In fact, I just hosted a challenge. We do something called the Sell Your Offer Challenge, and we teach people how to be a sales girl. You can see how powerful that might be. In fact, a girl just 3 days into the challenge, she posted a screenshot of a message that someone sent her. And the message said something like, oh, I love watching you. I could never do what you do. I love watching you on the sidelines, but you're such an inspiration. And she said, you know, before taking this challenge, I just would have thought that that was a compliment. But now that I'm a sales girl, identity, now that I'm a sales girl, I see opportunities everywhere. Do you see how when you identify as something completely different, the byproduct of that is lasting change that is almost inevitable? So the question is, how do you get to that point? How do you get to the point where your identity is so strong, it is just a no-brainer to do the things you want to do? And that is where it becomes a little tricky. It's like 50-50. It's very easy to do the things you want to do when you are in that identity, but it's kind of a little bit challenging to get to that identity. So let's talk about it. Let's say you are going from this person right here who identifies as unathletic. I'm unathletic, to this person right here that identifies as a runner. I am a runner. Now, I don't know if you know like real runners, but they are truly people that can't help, like they can't go out for a 3-mile run. It is 13 miles or they're not going. That is just who they are. So how does someone, like, because everyone starts here where they don't run, how do they get from here to here? And truthfully, what it is daily deposits of running. They run every single day, no matter what. But here's the kicker. They pursue the daily deposits of running even though they feel super confused. I've been in a season where I used to run. I was the girl that used to run 20 miles before work. I know that sounds crazy, and it sounds crazy to me even today because I don't identify as a runner anymore. But I used to be this, and as I kind of progressed into I'm a runner, I went through all kinds of confusion. The confusion of, okay, do I need a watch? What kind of shoes do I need? How do I carry my water? What if I need to go to the bathroom? Do I need to go on a trail? How long is this going to take me? How do I know how to like shower before work? And how many, like, do I eat before if I want to do it in the morning? And how do I recover? And how often do I run? Is it bad if I run every single day, or should I do some weight training? What if my muscles start to deteriorate? What if I start to injure myself? Like, I just had all these questions about running. And see, a lot of times people kind of step into trying to take new action so that they can hold this new identity, and they feel that confusion. They feel that overwhelm, and in their mind, they think, oh, that should be a reason why I stop and go back to this person right here. But instead, I want you to think about it like this. I feel a little confused. I have a lot of questions. This is the process in which my brain starts to rewire. And the truth is, the clarity of all those questions you have, they actually come through the process of running. Like, action breeds clarity. Thinking doesn't breed clarity. And what most people do is they start to feel confused, they start to feel overwhelmed, they have some questions, and instead of taking action, they just ask. Instead of action, they ask. And we've been trained like this, to do your work in school, and when things get hard and you're not sure what to do next, you stop, you raise your hand, and you look for the answer. But instead, the best way to develop the answers and to get certainty is to actually take action all the way through. Now, the question is, truthfully, how can you find comfort in the discomfort? That is the question, because you know this is going to be painful up until a point you get to a place where you're like, oh my gosh, it is actually harder for me to not run than it is to run. So how can you maintain the consistency even though you were irritated, even though you were frustrated, even though you were confused, even though you were overwhelmed, and even though you are in discomfort? And the best way that I know how to help you do that is to actually reframe discomfort and give you a new lens to look at discomfort through. And how can you start to feel those emotions of frustration and that trigger in your mind that, this is exactly where I'm meant to be. Like, this is the good stuff. This is the point. And I want to do that for you by telling you the story and the process in which how pearls are made. So when an oyster has a foreign object that comes inside of the oyster, it starts to irritate something called the mantle. The mantle is that layer in the oyster that protects all the things inside of the oyster, and it starts to irritate it. Now, here's what's crazy. They call this a foreign object, but they also call it an irritant. And these items are things like little pieces of sand and also small pieces of shells. And I'm like, is it really a foreign object if it is in the habitat of an oyster? It's kind of crazy. It's almost like it's inevitable. It's almost like just for you to live and exist, you have to experience these irritants and these foreign objects to come into your world. So when a foreign object comes into the oyster starts to have this immune system that kicks in. And the immune system doesn't push the irritant out. The immune system actually pulls the irritant in. It holds that piece of sand close. It holds that piece of shell close. And the oyster starts to produce this protein, and it wraps around the oyster. Thousands of tiny little layers of protein eventually, over time, form something as beautiful as a pearl. So you're telling me pearls are formed from suffering, they're formed from brokenness, and they're formed from irritation. Now, here's what blew my mind the most. Do you know how long it takes for a pearl to be created? Anywhere from 6 months to 4 years. I'll tell you why this blew my mind. That 6-month time frame has been life-changing for me on multiple occasions. When I first started to learn how to sell, I would go to my dad's office every day. I would sit at his desk and he would teach me and we would practice. And it took me 6 months of doing that every day before I had my very first $10,000 month. I have 2 kids. And I don't know about you, if you're a parent, you know, like, that process of going through the process of like having a baby, whether it's through adoption or, pregnancy or IVF, whatever that process is, it is irritating. Sickness, nausea, your body changing, the absolute mental like frustration that comes from the fog that hovers over your brain. I have a cousin that was adopted from Ethiopia. That process was insane. It was so expensive. It was constant back and forth. I felt like every day I'm just like, he's waiting for us. Like, he needs a family. Why is this so hard? Not to mention, once you have the baby, the sleep deprivation, the loneliness. If you want to look up how to torture someone, you just deprive them of sleep and you put them in isolation, and that'll do it real quick. Not to mention, oh my gosh, milestones, feeding, whether you're buying formula or you're breastfeeding, both of those, incredibly irritating. Washing bottles, your milk supply, buying formula. But I don't know about you, for me personally as a mom, when I hit that 6-month mark, I felt like I could kind of come up for air. My baby was sleeping, they were eating solids, my milk supply started to regulate, I was kind of getting out a little bit more, I was working out, my body kind of felt like it was back to normal. That 6-month mark, it was game changing. We went through a process of completely changing our business from the inside out. And from the process, we went from having a $1.2 million a year to a $1.2 million day. And that was an 8-month process of straight up irritation. Wow. So you're telling me the 6-month duration is the foundation of your new identity creation. So if you can commit to 6 months of taking action, even when it's frustrating, actually not even with, especially because it's frustrating. Like, it has to be frustrating. It has to be confusing, or else your brain doesn't get rewired. If you can commit to 6 months of action, commitment, and irritation, you will be on the other side of a completely different identity creation. And then you will be sitting back and saying, isn't it so bizarre how changing who you are can get you so very far? I hope this was helpful. Comment below your biggest takeaway, and we'll see you in the next one.